Representative Lauren Boebert doesn't remember being in school or noticing anything about their teachers. No details about the teachers. So what do I mean by that? Well, the Colorado Republican has faced ridicule online after tweeting that she didn't remember teachers using pronouns, weird, or even talking about or referencing their marital status in the classroom. Interesting. Now, Boebert had responded to a clip of White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre condemning Florida officials for the controversial "Don't Say Gay" bill. Well, it's only not controversial to people who are incredibly bigoted. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I just don't want trans and gay people to exist. Any mention of them should be completely struck for the record. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Oh, there's a lot wrong. But anyway, Jean-Pierre called out the state of Florida for banning teachers from talking about who they are and who they love. Even in just, remember, in passing, like being like, oh yeah, by the way, like, oh, this picture of my, significant other on my desk is who they are. Can't do that in Florida. Not anymore. Not unless you're, by the way, cisgender married to in a heterosexual marriage. If you're not in a heterosexual marriage, then any mention of that is punishable by law in Florida. It's insane. But anyway, here's what Boebert had tweeted. She said, growing up, and by the way, she again tweeted in defense of Florida law. Growing up, I don't recall teachers announcing their marital status and pronouns to everyone. They're there to educate. How's this still a complaint of the left? Oh, they're there to educate, except when it comes to anything that has to do with LGBTQIA plus people, which in their minds don't exist, or they wish they wouldn't exist. Okay, so now here's the thing about Lauren Boebert. You know that Lauren Boebert is actually younger than I am? I'm older than Lauren Boebert. Oh, that's bizarre. She's actually 36. I'm 39. Now, the reason I bring that up is because we generally went to school, like, I could have, for example, I could have been at her, high school, right? She would have been obviously in a lower class, lower grade than I was, but we could have been at high school in the same time together. Imagine that. That would have been bizarre. But anyway, that example makes me think about when I went to school, right? And when I was going to school, at that time, the vast majority of teachers had pictures of their families on their desks. And you would call them Mr. or Mrs., because of their marital status. And look, I remember one of my teachers getting married and explaining why she changed her last name. There are other people that have been like, hey, look, not only did I get married, but I am currently having, a pregnancy. Completely normal stuff. Now, here's the thing. I know Lauren Boebert is a high school dropout. That's common knowledge. But she dropped out in her senior year, so obviously she had gone to school for at least those few years. Did she completely not pay attention to anything while she was there? Maybe that's an obvious question. And look, she didn't drop out because of, grades or anything like that. She dropped out because, she had gotten pregnant in school and dropped out to take care of the baby. Okay, I don't have any issue with that. Just saying that while she was there, was she paying attention to anything? Does she remember anything? Look, I think she conveniently forgot. That's the issue. She has been targeting the LGBTQ community for political gain. That's what's going on here. Now, look, back during the time that we had went to school, since we are around the same age, it was totally fine for this to happen, for people to, say, oh, Mr. and Mrs., oh, this is a person, this is my wife or husband, that, a picture on my desk, here's my family, whatever, right? and to casually bring it up every once in a while, if like maybe asked a question. Okay? So that said, that was fine back then, but somehow now things are very, very different. Because now there are some teachers that are now openly gay or bisexual or even transgender. And yet somehow their existence in the classroom is grooming children. Somehow that's grooming kids, them existing. Now, hold on. According to her logic, that must mean that she was groomed as a child, that I was groomed as a child, because I had a teacher that was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm getting married and this is me changing my name and I'm changing my pronouns to Mr., instead of, Ms., it's Ms. And now Mrs. That's okay. Oh my God, I've been groomed. Oh my God, we've all been groomed.
Oh no.
We are all groomed to the heterosexual lifestyle. Oh, that's it. That's it. Apparently, we're all victims here.
We have to keep our country gay.
Yeah, we're all groomed. No, this is ridiculous. The whole thing, ridiculous. And it is funny how gay and trans people have always existed, for one, and still existed, even though there was so much heterosexual grooming going on in our schools. Weird how that works. Very strange. All right, but anyway, Twitter had some responses to Lauren Boebert, and here's a couple of them. One of them said, and this is actually a former Missouri legislature candidate, Jessica Piper, tweeted, I had a picture of my husband and my kids on my desk, wore a wedding ring, and my students referred to me as Mrs. Piper. Oh my God, what a groomer! What a groomer she is! Oh, Mrs. She's using pronouns and look, pointing out how she had family. How did she have a family? Obviously, she had sex. You're sexualizing children by putting a picture of your child and your husband on your desk. Groomers! And obviously, this is ridiculous. No, not a groomer. Here she continues, by the way. To go even further, I taught while I was pregnant. I wonder if the kids wondered why I gained 40 pounds, and it all seemed to go to my belly. Maybe it's okay for kids to know teachers are human, who have human relationships. Maybe that would make it easier to teach fellow humans. Well, obviously, you are a sexual deviant. Again, this is ridiculous. She's right. That makes sense. And by the way, that kind of secondary, I guess, education is going to help people through life. What do I mean by that is basically seeing that people have, are people, for one, teachers are people, and that they do have healthy relationships, and yet they do have families. Nobody's asking anyone to go, deeply into weirdo conversations, like explicit conversations. Nobody says that's okay. Nobody is trying to push that. But conservatives have this weird idea in their mind that that's what gay and trans people are doing in the classroom if they happen to be a teacher. That's not what's going on. And in the cases where, yes, it has happened before, mainly with, of course, let's be honest, cisgender, straight teachers. And by the way, it happens both sexes, obviously. Where that does happen, it's not okay when you have teachers that, do engage in those inappropriate relationships with students. And again, it has happened. There have been reports of that in Chicago schools specifically. And look, it's incredibly damning, and it is a problem. It's not the LGBTQ people that are pushing this, though. It's not that community, and it's not solely that community. But conservatives are, again, pushing this idea, this narrative, that there is the grooming going on in the classrooms, and it's all the LGBTQ community. Just not true. All right. Brandon Wolf, press secretary for Equality Florida, also tweeted this. The irony is how common this is in small conservative towns where teachers are married to each other and everyone knows everyone else. In our little cow town, it was impossible not to know that Ms. Groves and Mr. Harmon got married one year. It is not abnormal for kids to know that their teachers have spouses or refer to them by gendered titles. Just say you don't want kids to know that queer people exist and stop gaslighting everyone. I agree 100%. And by the way, again, going back to me, I had two teachers that were married, and one of the students, was her kid. Perfectly lovely, kid, by the way. And what is it? The husband was my English teacher, and you seem like a decent guy. No issues there. Oh, once again, that's just a result of me being groomed into the heterosexual lifestyle or something. Again, this is just an attack on LGBTQIA+ folks. That's all it is. Lawyer Max Kennerly also responded to Boebert, tweeting, "Weird because I knew the pronouns of every single one of my teachers, and for most of them, I knew their marital status too. They announced them on the first day of class by referring to themselves as Mr., Mrs., Ms., or Miss." And then author Eric Rosswood also tweeted this. "Wearing a wedding ring is a form of announcing your marital status. I guess when Lauren Boebert was growing up, all teachers removed their wedding rings before entering the classroom." Yeah, it must be. Must be. Now, look, you might think that it's weird that they're bringing this up, since it didn't used to be a problem. But as I mentioned before, that's because most of the teachers, at least as far as we knew, were straight and cisgender. So either they were or they just weren't out. But now, again, since there are more teachers that are out, and basically, look, all you have to do to really show that you're out at these days is if you're a female teacher, you just put a picture of your partner on your desk, and that's all it takes. But for conservatives, it's too much. You are advertising the gay lifestyle. No, or you're trying to indoctrinate children into the gay lifestyle. That's ridiculous. It's just insane. Look, the freak out, it's not about, obviously, protecting education. It's not about protecting children. This is all about ensuring that LGBTQI people just don't exist. They want to wipe them off the face of society. Just get rid of them. And the teachers that are, a member of that community, I can guarantee you, they're not trying to groom anybody just by simply saying, we exist. Because that's what's going on here. All they're saying is, we exist. That's not grooming. That's just a statement of fact. Saying that they don't exist doesn't mean that they don't exist.